the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. With that, we'll come to text 8. So please recite after me. Paritranaya sadhunam,
Paritranaya sadhunam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
dharma samsthapanarthaya,
dharma samsthapanarthaya,
sambhavami yuge yuge.
Sambhavami yuge yuge.
Paritranaya sadhunam,
Paritranaya sadhunam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
dharma samstharpanarthaya,
dharma samsthapanarthaya,
sambhavami yuge yuge.
Sambhavami yuge yuge.
Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
dharma samstharpanarthaya,
dharma samsthapanarthaya,
sambhavami yuge yuge.
Sambhavami yuge yuge.
Once more. Paritranaya sadhunam,
Paritranaya sadhunam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
vinashaya cha dushkritam,
dharma samsthapanarthaya,
dharma samsthapanarthaya,
sambhavami yuge yuge.
Sambhavami yuge yuge.
So word for word translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Paritranaya,
Paritranaya,
for the deliverance. Sadhunam,
sadhunam,
of the devotees.
of the devotees.
Vinashaya,
Vinashaya,
for the annihilation.
for the annihilation,
cha, and dushkritam, of the miscreants, dharma,
Dharma,
principles of religion,
principles of religion,
samsthapanarthaya, to re-establish, sambhavami, I do appear, yuge, millennium, yuge, after millennium. Translation: to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So Lord Krishna is giving 3 reasons as to why he comes. To deliver the pious, paritranaya sadhunam. So his first reason that he gives is, I come to deliver the pious. The second reason he gives is, vinashayatra dushkritam, which is to annihilate the miscreants, which is the non-devotees, I come to destroy them. The demons, I come to destroy them. As well as to re-establish the principles of religion. The third reason, I come to re-establish dharma. Now Krishna has already said this in the previous shlokas, but he is repeating, again he is repeating, I myself appear millennium after millennium to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. Purport: according to Bhagavad Gita, a sadhu, holy man, is a man in Krishna consciousness. A person may appear to be irreligious, but if he has the qualifications of Krishna consciousness wholly and fully, he is to be understood to be a sadhu. Paritranaya sadhunam. What is the definition of a sadhu? A sadhu is anybody who is worshipping Krishna. It does not matter if they are perfect or not. Anybody who has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrendered to him, Krishna considers such a person to be a sadhu. A person may appear to be irreligious, but if he has the qualifications of Krishna consciousness wholly and fully, he is to be understood to be a sadhu. So last week, Suta Goswami was telling us what is the primary purpose of our life, which is to love Krishna without any motivation and without any interruption. All the time, we have to love Krishna. We have to respect him, we have to love him, we have to serve him without any material motivation and without any interruption. Such a person is a sadhu. So now we're going to come to the definition of dushkritam. So Prabhupada explains the definition of dushkritam here, but it is based on Krishna himself defining dushkritam in chapter 7. We'll come to that shloka in a moment. And dushkritam applies to those who do not care for Krishna consciousness. Which means they have not accepted Krishna as the Supreme Lord. They have not surrendered to him. They don't worship him. They don't bow down to him. They don't think about him. They don't want to love him. They don't want to serve him. Such a person is a dushkritam in whose eyes? In Lord Krishna's eyes. Such miscreants or dushkritam are described as foolish and the lowest of mankind. Who is describing them as foolish and lowest of mankind? Oh, it's Lord Krishna himself in chapter 7. Such miscreants or dushkritam are described as foolish and the lowest of mankind, even though they may be decorated with mundane education. So you may have all kinds of degrees. You may be very well educated. You may be occupying a very high post in society. But Krishna is saying, if you've not surrendered to me, I consider you to be foolish, as good as an animal, lowest of mankind. Why? Because you have decided that you are the master. So Krishna is saying, those who have this kind of thought process, I am the master of all that I survey. I will not surrender to anyone. God doesn't exist. Krishna is defining such kind of personalities as dushkritam. They are foolish. Why are they foolish? They don't believe in God. And even if they do believe in God, they decide they don't need to surrender. God, you be where you are, I will be where I am. Together, you do your thing, I do my thing, kind of thing. So here Prabhupada is saying such miscreants or dushkritam are described as foolish and the lowest of mankind, even though they may be decorated with mundane education. Whereas a person who is 100% engaged in Krishna consciousness is accepted as a sadhu, even though such a person may be neither learned nor well cultured. So you can be 100% sadhu and not know how to read a book and not know how to recite shlokas properly. So, oftentimes I worry that we spend so much time reciting the shlokas properly, and I'm tempted to remind everybody all the time that 99% devotion and 1% recitation perfection is better than 99% recitation perfection with 1% devotion. We must always remember this. Shloka recitation, although we are trying to do that as nicely as possible, it is your devotion that Lord Krishna is looking at. He does not care if you do not know how to pronounce Sanskrit properly. That is the measuring stick that Krishna is using to determine whether we are really his devotees or not. Because otherwise, only focusing on perfect recitation and perfect pronunciation with zero renunciation is of no use. It's better to chant 16 rounds every day than to be perfect in your shloka recitation. it is better to spend more time chanting the holy names of the Lord than to be perfect in your shloka recitation. So we must have our priorities straight. Devotion will always trump perfection in mundane things, because it will lead to jnana abhiman. It will lead to pride. Whereas if you practice devotion nicely, in the proper mood, it will lead to humility. So now we have discussed Dushkritam is foolish and lowest of mankind. There's one more definition that's coming to Dushkritam, and that's in the next sentence. As far as the atheistic are concerned, atheistic means those who do not believe in God. It is not necessary for the Supreme Lord to appear as he is to destroy them, as he did with the demons Ravana and Kamsa. To destroy the demons, the Lord doesn't have to come. He has so many agents here, so many demigods, Maya Devi is there. He can kill any demons he wants without stepping into the material cosmos. Because all the devatas are very, very powerful human beings. They have a tremendous amount of power. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons. In this morning's class, I was asking a question, and I want to hear your answer. Do you think Kamsa is Krishna conscious? Is Kamsa Krishna conscious?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
More
Why?
than a devotee.
He's
Because
always thinking of killing
always
Krishna.
fearing
He's got
Krishna
Krishna in his
death.
mind.
He's always thinking of Krishna. So he's Krishna conscious, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Does anybody disagree?
But he is in demonic nature.
Kamsa is also Krishna conscious. However, he is not Krishna conscious in a way that is favorable for himself. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, there are two terminologies in Sanskrit that is used. One is Anukul and one is Pratikul. Anukul means even when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we must practice it in such a way that we're trying to please Krishna. And by trying to please Krishna, we will get benefited. Pratikul means you're practicing Krishna consciousness in such a way that it actually does not please Krishna. So although Kamsa was always meditating, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? I want to kill him. No doubt he was meditating on Krishna. No doubt he was Krishna conscious. But his Krishna consciousness was pratikul, unfavorable. So our acharyas say we have to practice Krishna consciousness in such a way that it actually elicits the Lord's love and affection for us, not the opposite. Even though Kamsa attains moksha eventually in his next life as Shishupal. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons, but the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees who are always harassed by the demoniac. So why does the Lord come? He comes to please his devotees. the more difficulties that a devotee undergoes, the more their affection for Lord Krishna increases. We see this in the prayers of Queen Kunti. After the battle, when Krishna is getting ready to leave Hastinapur, she begs with the Lord. She first of all glorifies the Lord. She happens to witness the Damodar Leela that happens in Braj. And she says, I have seen all of these most wondrous pastimes of yours. And she glorifies the Lord first. And being pleased with her glorification, Lord Krishna asks Kunti Devi, I am so pleased with your glorification. Please tell me, what can I do for you? And astonishingly, Kunti Devi says, my dear Lord, we have now won this battle. We are now occupying the throne. But can you do me one thing? Can you keep sending me troubles? Because if you don't keep sending me troubles, I will forget you. So for a devotee of the Lord, for a pure devotee of the Lord, they know that the Lord is present when they experience distresses in life. Their attachment to the Lord's lotus feet only grows. So in response to their attachment growing through difficult circumstances, the Lord comes himself to appease his devotees. The demon harasses the devotee even though the latter may happen to be his kin. Although Prahlad Maharaj was the son of Hiranyakashipu, he was nonetheless persecuted by his father. Although Devaki, the mother of Krishna, was the sister of Kamsa, she and her husband Vasudeva were persecuted only because Krishna was to be born of them. So you can be in the same family group, but there can be enmity and hatred within family members. And we are talking about Satya Yuga and Dwapar Yuga here as examples. Can you imagine how much more it is in Kali Yuga? Every family there is a conflict. So Lord Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than kill Kamsa. But both were performed simultaneously. Just as the Lord appears to protect his mother Devaki, simultaneously he uses that opportunity to kill Kamsa. Therefore it is said here that to deliver the devotee and vanquish the demon miscreants, the Lord appears in different incarnations. So the question can be asked, why does the Lord keep coming back again and again and again and again? Is he not tired of us? We are such rascals. Why does he bother coming here? It is because he wants to attract our attention. He is hoping that even though he's come there for the pious people, those who are already his devotees, but when he appears and performs his leelas, even the demon miscreants may get attracted to him. And that can be the beginning of their journey to being favorably Krishna conscious. So the Lord keeps coming to advertise himself and to say, don't you want to come back to me? So the Lord is all attractive. So every time he comes and performs his leelas, and we will talk about the different types of avatars here, he comes to attract our attention so that we can start thinking about him again, so that we can think about re-establishing our relationship with him. That's why the Lord comes in so many different ways. in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadas Kaviraj. The following verses from the Madhya Leela, chapter 20, verses 263 to 264, summarize these principles of incarnation. Shrishti hetuye murti prapanche avatare, Shai Ishvara murti avatara namadhare, Maya tita paravyoma, Shabara avasthana, Vishve avatari dhare, avatara nama. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Rupa Goswami and also Sanatana Goswami on the principles of incarnation. So the various types of incarnations and the sequences of the incarnations are discussed both in Srimad-Bhagavatam as well as in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what's the meaning of these two verses? The avatara or incarnation of Godhead descends from the kingdom of God for material manifestation. So literally the word avatara means that which descends from the spiritual world to the material world. This paravyome means, vyom means the sky. Beyond the sky is the spiritual world. So when a personality comes from the spiritual world and enters the material world, that is called avatara. And the particular form of the personality of Godhead who so descends is called an incarnation or avatara. Remember, we said, because Krishna is the source of all avatars, he is called avatari. Every other incarnation is an avatar, not an avatari. But when Krishna himself comes, he is called avatari. Such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material creation, they assume the name avatara. There are various kinds of avatars, such as Purusa Avatars, Guna Avatars, Leela Avatars, Shakti Avesh Avatars, Manavant Avatars, and Yuga Avatars. So the Srimad-Bhagavatam talks about 6 different kinds and ways in which the Lord appears. And Prabhupada writes here, all of them appear on schedule all over the universe. They follow a calendar, their calendar. So when Lord Krishna winds up his pastime in our universe, immediately he's gone to another universe to perform his leelas there. So the Lord is constantly traveling all over the material universe, trying to attract the Jivatmas to come back home with him. But Lord Krishna is the primeval Lord, the fountainhead of all avatars. Lord Sri Krishna descends for the specific purpose of mitigating the anxieties of the pure devotees, who are very anxious to see him in his original Vrindavan pastimes. Therefore, the prime purpose of the Krishna Avatara is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. So why does the Lord have to come here in this God-forsaken place and perform his Bala Leela pastimes? Because he is already performing it in the spiritual world. Why does he need to come to the material cosmos to do that? There are 2 reasons. One we already discussed, to attract the attention and to please and provide bliss, ananda, for his devotees. The second thing is, when he performs his leelas are spoken about in detail in the future, and in the future too, just by hearing about his leelas, other jivatmas may also be attracted. That is why another meaning of the name Krishna is all attractive. So 2 reasons. 1, he wants to please his devotees and give them an opportunity to associate with him in his pastimes. 2, in the future, his pastimes will be spoken about and glorified by many, many acharyas. And when acharyas and devotees speak about Lord Krishna's pastimes, even though he may not be physically present, just hearing about the pastimes, other jivatmas will get attracted to him. The Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali. By the way, the word millennium takes on different meanings depending on the context of the shloka. Earlier, we said millennium means once in the daytime of Lord Brahma. Here, millennium is every yuga. Every yuga, the Lord comes. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam, the incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting of the holy names, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted, who predicted? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that this culture of Sankirtana would be broadcast all over the world from town to town and village to village. Lord Chaitanya, as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly, but not directly, in the confidential parts of the revealed scriptures, such as the Upanishads, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. So in some of the avatars that the Lord takes, he announces very loudly and clearly that he is the Lord. In other avatars, he comes disguised. For example, Lord Ram does not advertise himself as Bhagavan. He comes as Maryada Purushottam to demonstrate to us what an ideal householder should lead life like. The devotees of Lord Krishna are very much attracted by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. This avatara of the Lord does not kill the miscreants, but delivers them by his causeless mercy. So again, when the Lord comes in various avatars, he doesn't always come with weapons. Definitely in Kali Yuga, the main avatar of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he pulls out his Sudarshan Chakra to kill Jagai and Madai, the 2 drunkards. Nityananda Ram falls at his lotus feet and tells the Lord, "My dear Lord, you seem to have forgotten. In this avatar, you don't have your implements to destroy the ignorant." What is the weapon that is used in Kali Yuga to remove ignorance, foolishness, naradhama? The weapon in Kali Yuga is chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Nityananda Ram reminds Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, put your Sudarshan Chakra back, my dear Lord. In this Yuga, everybody is foolish. Who are you going to use your Sudarshan Chakra against? Billions of people occupy this planet today. More than 6 billion. Imagine if the Lord has to take the Sudarshan Chakra against every one of these 6 billion. It's impossible. So the special avatar in Kali Yuga does not come with weapons. Of course, at the end of Kali Yuga, Kalki will come only to kill. Only to kill. But the significant avatar of Lord Krishna, or Lord Krishna himself coming as a devotee to demonstrate to us just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can become sadhu. So, Krishna defines dushkrita, and he also talks about material nature. So we said, what is dharma? Dharma is to follow the rules and regulations of the Lord. The Lord is sitting as a witness in all of us as Paramatma. As a witness, he is least interested on what you do. He is just documenting everything that you do. That's all. He's like quality control. He just makes note, yes, no. Followed regulations, didn't follow regulations. See, in the material world, there are so many laws, there are so many regulations. But we only get punished if we get caught. No? How many of us have run red lights because there is no policeman early in the morning? Oh yes, because we know we can get away with it. So we engage in a lot of risky behavior, thinking that there's no man around to watch me violating this law of the government. But when it comes to the law of nature, there is no chance of you escaping. None whatsoever. Srila Prabhupada says, the laws of the Lord are so strict. He looks at every single thing that you do and don't do as per dharma. Whereas under man's law you can escape, and even if you get caught, if you know somebody, you can also be excused. But when it comes to the laws of the Lord, we don't stand a chance. We don't stand a chance. The laws of nature are so strict. So when it comes to dharma, who is actually overseeing the implementation of the laws of the Lord? Oh, that's being done by Maya Devi. So we'll look at what does the Lord say about Maya Devi. We'll come to chapter 9. In chapter 9, Krishna says to Arjuna, Maya dhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. Maya dhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. Chara and achara means, chara means to create, moving, and achara means non-moving. Hetunanena kaunteya. Oh, she is doing all of this under my directions, under my instructions. And based on my instructions, she's creating all these jivatmas, these various bodies. So Maya Devi is a servant of Lord Krishna, and she is a dutiful servant. And actually, of all of the devatas, she has the worst job. Her job is to punish the jivatmas, to reform them, to give them an opportunity to turn their face to Krishna. But in the process, what happens is the jivatma thinks I am the master. So she confuses you. So the translation of the shloka is, this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Which means all of the jivatmas, although they are originally created by Mahavishnu himself, but when they have to actually come and physically occupy a particular body, that particular body is assigned to us by Maya Devi under the instructions of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna says, yes, this person likes to eat all kinds of filthy stuff. Give him the body of a pig. This person likes to be naked all the time, doesn't like to wear clothes. give him the body of a tree so he can be naked for many thousands of years. So these decisions are made by Krishna as to what kind of body you're going to get next. But the person who actually gives you that body and puts you into that body is Maya Devi. So Krishna is saying, this Maya Devi is my energy and is working under my direction. So which means the agents of Krishna also, we have to be very careful about his agents. What are their roles and responsibilities? We should be worried about their roles and responsibilities if we are not devotees of the Lord. If you are a devotee of Lord Krishna, there's nothing for you to worry about. You don't have to worry about Maya Devi. Because Acharyas say, if you have become a devotee of Lord Krishna, Maya Devi will not touch you. Of course, she will try to tempt you to walk away from Krishna. But if we are foolish enough to get tempted, then she will ensnare you again and make you forget Krishna. But as long as we have surrendered and taken the shelter of Krishna, we need not worry about Maya Devi. Because we are sadhus. So Maya Devi does not trouble those who are devotees of the Lord. Yes, whatever remaining karma that you have, you may still experience some of that in this life. But if you dedicate yourself to be a wonderful devotee of the Lord, then there's nothing for you to worry about. Because you are under the Lord's shelter and protection. So coming to Krishna's definition of who is this Dushkritina that he's talking about? This is from chapter 7, Shloka 15. Namam Dushkritino Moodah Prabhadyante Naradhama Mayaya Pahrita Jnana Ashuram Bhavam Ashrita. What is Lord Krishna saying? Na, not, mam, unto me, dushkritinah, miscreants, moodah, foolish, prabhadyante, surrender, nara adhama, lowest among mankind, mayaya, under the influence of Maya Devi, apahrita, stolen, jnanah, whose knowledge, ashuram, demoniac, bhavam, nature, ashritah, accepting. What's Lord Krishna telling Arjuna? Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So this is the definition of demons. Krishna is saying, those who want to lord it over material nature, who may be brilliant, who may be smart, who may be intelligent on all the material calculations, they are so intelligent that they are working hard like asses day after day after day. They don't know why they are putting in 16 hours of work when they can only eat this much. If you earn more money, does that mean you can eat more? You can still only eat how much your stomach can accept. So Prabhupada always says, it doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or you're a beggar on the street. You can only eat as much as your stomach can accept. No amount of extra money, extra anything can really help you. So Prabhupada says, we are all working like asses. Day and night we are working. We don't know why we are working so hard. So as we keep working so hard like this, it is very easy to forget Krishna. Because the more hours you spend in materialism, the less time you have for Krishna, then obviously we will also become atheistic. It will not be too far off when we will also say, I have to work so hard just to put food on the table for my family. How can there be any God? And you will dismiss God. You will say there cannot be God. You will see suffering all around you and you will blame it and you will say there cannot be God, because if there is a God, there will not be this kind of suffering. Krishna is saying, this is what happens when you think you are the master. Your intelligence gets stolen by Maya Devi, and she puts you in a trap where you think that you are controlling everything. And Krishna is saying, such kind of people, they will not surrender to me. And when there is an increase in such kind of people in society, then Krishna says, I come. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. He has to come. Of course, he primarily comes for his devotees, but in the process, he takes care of the demons also. So, what is the purpose of our life then? We can go back to last week's class. The purpose of our life is to love the Lord unconditionally and always, with no material desires or motivation. That is our Nitya Dharma. And by the way, as long as we are occupying this physical body, we are also having to focus on Varnashrama Dharma. But you could be a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra. You could be a Brahmachari or Brahmacharini. You could be a Grihastha. You could be a Vanaprastha. You could be a Sannyasi. Any combination of this four plus this four. If you are a devotee of Lord Krishna, then your life is perfected. Your life is perfect. Right? So this is Krishna's definition of Dushkritinaha, which is they are foolish, they are lowest among mankind. And why? Their intelligence is stolen by Maya Devi. She puts them under illusion. And eventually, what happens? They become atheistic in nature. And atheism is equal to demons. So we talked about the avatars. We'll go into the details of the avatars in the next session. But I just want you to briefly tell you about what is actually happening. So we talked about the sages at Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi and all of his brethren, have gathered in Naimisharanya because Kali Yuga has begun. Kali Yuga has begun. And the rishis are extremely worried. What's going to happen to the human beings in Kali Yuga? They are going to suffer so much. They're going to face all kinds of problems. They're going to have short life. There is going to be so much diseases. There is going to be strife in families. People are generally going to be unhappy in Kali Yuga. So these sages have gathered in Naimisharanya to perform 1,000-year yajna. And they happen to invite Suta Goswami to enlighten them. So at that time, the sages pose Suta Goswami 6 questions. But before that, to talk about the history of Srimad-Bhagavatam. one day Parvati Devi wanted to hear Srimad-Bhagavatam because she discovered that anybody who hears the Srimad-Bhagavatam achieves immortality. That is why it is called the Amara Puran. Anybody who hears the Srimad-Bhagavatam is considered to be most fortunate. But hearing as a devotee will give you immortality. So Lord Shiva says, because I am about to narrate the Srimad-Bhagavatam to you, and because whoever hears it is going to achieve immortality, I need to make sure that nobody else is around to listen to Srimad-Bhagavatam in an unauthorized manner. So he claps his hands and all of the Jivatmas disappear from there. So it is Parvati Devi and Lord Shiva sitting in Kailash. Unbeknownst to Lord Shiva, there is a parrot that has just hatched in a nest on the tree that he is sitting below. So Lord Shiva starts reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And eventually, after he finishes reciting, he realizes that this parrot has also heard the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So he becomes angry. This parrot is actually Srimati Radharani's parrot in Golok Vrindavan. So that parrot happens to be listening to Srimad-Bhagavatam. Lord Shiva gets so upset, he chases the parrot until the parrot enters the ashram of Vedavyas, and the parrot enters the mouth of Vedavyas's wife and goes and resides in the womb. So this parrot is the parrot of Srimati Radharani from Goloka Vrindavan that's been listening to Bhagavad Katha from Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva chases the parrot enters into the mouth of Vedavyas's wife and settles into the womb and stays there for 12 years. So as Vedavyas is writing all of his different scriptures and Vedas, this baby occupying, Ambika Mataji, can you please stay on mute? So this baby parrot, or the personality occupying the womb, when Vedavyas used to write and recite his Sanskrit Vedic scriptures, this baby would correct him from inside the womb. And Vedavyas would say, "Are you're so competent, you're correcting me from inside the womb? Who are you?" He asks this question. And Shukadev, this is Shuka, eventually he'll be Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami says, "What kind of question you're asking? Who am I? What can I tell you? I have occupied different bodies and different births. How can I tell you who I am?" And Vedavyas says, "Are you're so competent, you know so much, why don't you come out of the womb?" To which Shukadev says, "I don't want to come out of the womb. The minute I come out of the womb, I'll come under the influence of Maya Devi and finished. I'll forget God. I don't want to forget God. I'm meditating here inside the womb of my mother. I'm happy to stay inside the womb as long as I need to." So eventually Narada Muni has to come and whisper in the ears of Vyasadev's wife to encourage Shukadev to come out. It's okay. You can come out. I promise you, you will not come under the influence of Maya Devi. Come out. You've been there for a long time. So hearing these words from Narada Muni, Shukadev Goswami comes out of the womb and walks out. Just walks into the forest. He doesn't turn back and say, hi mom, hi dad, thanks for the 12 years. He just disappears into the forest to meditate on the Brahman feature of the Lord. So he's meditating in the forest, and Vyasadeva is so distressed that his son has left him without even a goodbye, without even a thank you. He sends one of his shishyas into the forest. He knows that his son is meditating on the impersonal form of the Lord. He knows he needs to tempt his son by describing to him the beautiful form of the Lord. So he sends his disciple, and this disciple recites one shloka. The shloka describes the beauty of Lord Krishna as he's coming back from his cowherding pastime as a 5-year-old boy. So Shukadev Goswami, whose eyes were closed and he was meditating on the Brahman feature of the Lord, which is the effulgence of the Lord, when he hears the shloka, he sees Lord Krishna. He immediately opens his eyes and he asks this student, who composed the shloka? And the student tells him, your father Vyasadeva. And now that Shukadev Goswami had seen a glimpse of what Lord Krishna looked like, just by hearing the shloka, he decides to go back to Vyasadeva. And he asked Vyasadeva, please narrate the Srimad-Bhagavatam to me. So Shukadev, as the parrot, has heard the Bhagavatam from Lord Shiva. And now he goes back to his father Vyasadeva and says, I want to hear it. So for the second time, Shukadev Goswami sits down and listens to Bhagavad Katha. So he becomes transformed from being an impersonalist, worshipping the formless aspect of the Lord. He now becomes a personalist. He worships the form of Krishna, the two-handed form of Krishna. And then this Parikshit Maharaj's episode happens. When Parikshit Maharaj is cursed by Shringi, the son of Samika Rishi, to die through the aegis of the Takshaka bird in 7 days. At that time, Parikshit, who's very young and his son was just 7 years old, he gives up his kingdom to his 7-year-old son and says, I'm leaving. I've got 7 days to figure out what is the purpose of life. And he leaves in search of self-realized souls who can instruct him. At that time, all the sages knew something special was about to happen. So Parikshit Maharaj is sitting, all the other sages, including Vyasadeva, are sitting. And out of nowhere walks Sukadev Goswami, and he comes and sits on the Vyasasara. And he begins to narrate the Srimad-Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Of course, Parikshit begins by asking questions. Every intelligent man has to ask questions. What is the purpose of life? What am I supposed to do? I have 7 days to live. And Sukadev Goswami says 7 days is a very long time. Imagine. Sukadev Goswami tells him 7 days is a very long time. You can achieve God consciousness in 7 days. There's nothing for you to worry about. Because your forefather Katwanga had 15 minutes to live and he achieved God realization and went back to the spiritual world. Katwanga is one of the kings who fought long and hard on behalf of the Devatas against some Asuras. And after the fight, he was very weary and he asks the Devatas. The Devatas are actually very pleased that he has helped them win this battle with the Asuras. And they tell him, tell us, what can we do for you? At that time, he asks Katwanga, asks a very intelligent question. He says, that depends on how long I have to live. You are asking me, what do I want? But before I tell you what I want, I need to know how long do I have to live. And the Devatas tell him, you have 15 minutes. And he says, 15 minutes? I need to go back to the spiritual world. And the Devatas tell him it's possible. So he completely surrenders and becomes a pure devotee of the Lord in 15 minutes. So Shukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit, your ancestor, God received God realization in 15 minutes. 7 days is a long time. Don't worry. For 7 days, I will speak to you about the glories of the Lord, at the end of which you will achieve service of the Lord. So when Shukadeva Goswami is narrating the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva is sitting and listening to his son narrating the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And so is Suta Goswami, who is sitting in that assembly, listening to the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So now we fast forward. The sages are there in Naimisharanya. They are very worried about Kali Yuga. They have invited Suta Goswami, who has already heard the Srimad-Bhagavatam just once, memorized all of the verses, and they invite him, and with a great deal of humility, they ask him 6 questions. First question, what is the path to welfare? What should human beings be doing? What is the purpose of life? To which we actually read the answer last week, where Suta Goswami answers their most important question. The best welfare for a human being is to become a devotee of Lord Krishna and worship him with love and serve him with affection, unmotivated, uninterrupted. Ahaituki apradihata. He makes that clear. First question is answered. The second question the rishis ask is, we have so many scriptures in our Vedic culture. It's impossible in Kali Yuga for the Jivatma to have sufficient time to study, comprehend, understand, apply. We know that the Jivatmas are not going to have time for the Vedas. Tell us, what is the essence of all of these scriptures? The essence of all of the scriptures is to find out who is God and re-establish your relationship with him. And perform some sadhana and perfect your life so that you achieve Krishna prema. So sambandha, abhideya and prayojana. Establishing your relationship with the Lord, serving the Lord is abhideya, and the final outcome of serving the Lord is prayojana, which is achieving Krishna prema. The third question was, why did Lord Krishna, if Lord Krishna is the supreme Lord himself, why did he come? And that was the third question. Why did Lord Krishna come? Why did the Lord himself come? What was the reason that he had to come? Their fourth question was, if indeed you are saying that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, can you tell us a little bit about the leelas that he performed while he was here? So first they ask, why did Krishna come? Then they ask, if Krishna came, what were his leelas? Tell us about his leelas. Their fifth question, we have heard that the Lord comes and takes so many avatars. Can you tell us about the other avatars of the Lord? There is this Guna Avatars, there is a Leela Avatars, there is a Purusa Avatars, there is Manavantaras, there's a Shakti Avesh Avatars. Can you tell us about the other avatars of Lord Krishna? And their final question, their sixth question was, Krishna has wound up his pastimes and gone back to the spiritual world. If the Lord has left, where is Dharma taken shelter? Where did Dharma go? And to which Sutta Goswami says that Dharma is residing in the Srimad-Bhagavatam itself. Which is why in our culture, it's very important to hear and read the Srimad-Bhagavatam every day if we can. Because Dharma, the Lord, is present in Srimad-Bhagavatam. So these are the 6 questions that they ask. And in response to these 6 questions, Sutta Goswami begins to narrate the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And as he's narrating the Srimad-Bhagavatam, who is sitting in the audience? Vyasadeva is sitting in the audience. So he's heard the Srimad-Bhagavatam from his own son, Shukadeva Goswami. Now that Sutta Goswami is getting ready to recite the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva is sitting and listening again to Srimad-Bhagavatam, which he himself has narrated to Shukadeva Goswami. But at this time, the Bhagavatam was not written down yet. It was still oral. It was only after Vyasadeva has heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, both from Sukadeva Goswami and from Sutta Goswami, he is actually instigated to write about it. And that happens when Narada Muni visits him one day. Vyasadeva, after having compiled all of the Vedic scriptures and divided it neatly for the purposes of Kali Yuga, because up until then, Vedas were memorized. They were never written. But because Kali Yuga has started, Vyasadeva, who is considered to be a literary incarnation of Lord Vishnu, comes for the sole purposes of putting the Vedic scriptures in writing for the benefit of humankind in Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga, the intelligence is going to reduce, the memory capacity is going to reduce, the lifespan is going to reduce. So unless things are written down, even if things are written down, the chances of us remembering it is slim to none. So Vyasadeva is actually quite dejected. He thinks, I have compiled all of the Vedas. I have done everything that was required of me, but yet I am feeling unhappy. Because even the Vedic scriptures are the words of the Lord. But why is it I am not experiencing any bliss? Is it because I have not described the Lord? So what are the Vedic scriptures? The Vedic scriptures primarily cover 4 topics: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Which means, if you do this, you can get this result. If you do that, you can get another result. If you do something else, you can get another result. Which means there is a give and take in Vedic scriptures. The Vedic scriptures are set up in such a way that if you follow it, you will get the results. Whatever results that you are desiring. As it relates to Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So Narada Muni at that time comes to visit his disciple, Vyasadeva. He says, what's the problem? Why are you so unhappy? And Vyasadeva says, I don't know. I have written and compiled all of this, but yet I am seeing that mankind doesn't even have a chance. At that time, Narada Muni starts talking about his own pastime in a previous life, whereas a Narada boy, he was the son of a widow, and she was serving in one ashram as a menial servant. And one day, some very nice sages came to stay there for 4 months during Chaturmas. And in those 4 months, this Narada boy used to listen to their Harikatha. For 4 months, the sannyasis are not supposed to travel. They take up what is called Kshetra Sannyas, which means they stay in one place for 4 months during monsoon season. So this Narada boy hears this Harikatha for 4 months. And the rishis used to tell him, After his mother would serve them nice food and all of that, the rishis would tell the young Narada, clean up our plates, but before you clean it, take the remnants of what we have eaten from the leaf that we have eaten off of. It will be good for you. It's our blessings. So shortly thereafter, Narada boy loses his mother to a snake bite, and he is an orphan now. So he decides, I'm not tied to anything. Let me go around. He experiences such bliss. One day he's meditating and he sees Lord Krishna in his mind's eye. And he wants to recapture that particular moment when he sees Lord Krishna in his mind's eye. He's desperate to get that glimpse of Krishna again because he remembers the bliss that he experienced. And he begins traveling all over the world, searching for Krishna. And he realizes, I'm not getting that same experience again. And he feels very dejected. And when he feels dejected and despondent, then Akashvani speaks to him. This is the Lord speaking to him. The Lord says, my dear Narada, I gave you a glimpse of myself, even though you didn't deserve it. You didn't do anything to see me. I gave you that glimpse to tempt you to come back to me. But now you have to practice your sadhana and qualify yourself to become a pure devotee of mine. Don't worry, you have all my blessings. Begin your journey of sadhana. So Narada boy practices his sadhana, perfects it, and in his next life, he becomes the Manasa Putra of Brahma. Narada Muni is also considered to be a Shakya Avesh avatar of Lord Vishnu. He represents devotion. Vyasadeva is the Shakya Avesh avatar of Lord Vishnu as a literary incarnation. Nara Narayana Rishis are the Shakya Avesh avatars of the Lord who represent what austerity really means. So there are 4 avatars, and we'll conclude the class in a couple of minutes. Although there are 6 types of avatars listed in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we will focus on 4 of them. The first is called the Purusa Avatars. The Purusa Avatars are the 3 Vishnus. These are the first Purusa Avatars of Lord Krishna. Beginning with Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who is also known as Mahavishnu. This Vishnu is lying on the Karana ocean, the causal ocean. From this Karanodakashayi Vishnu emanates another Vishnu called the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. This Vishnu is lying on what is called the universal ocean. It is from this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's navel that a lotus emanates, and on top of that lotus, Lord Brahma appears. From this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the 3rd Purusa avatar appears, which is called Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is the Paramatma or the Super Soul and who pervades every single atom in the universe. So the Purusa avatars are these 3 Vishnus. Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So they have their role to play in creation. Then there are the Guna Avatars. Guna means the different modes, the 3 material modes. The 3 Guna Avatars of Lord Krishna are Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu represents the Sattva Gun, or the mode of goodness, and therefore he is responsible for maintenance. Lord Brahma represents the Rajagun, and therefore he is responsible for creation. If you didn't have Rajagun, we cannot act and we cannot create. Hence, Lord Brahma represents the Rajagun. Shiva represents the Tamogun, destruction, the mode of ignorance. That does not mean that Lord Shiva is ignorant. He just represents Tamogun, and hence he is responsible for destruction. So there are Purusa Avatars, there are Guna Avatars. Purusa Avatars are the three Vishnus. The Guna Avatars represent the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance by Vishnu, Brahma, and Lord Shiva. Then we come to what are called the Leela Avatars. Leela Avatars means the Lord comes to perform his pastimes. Some of the Leela Avatars are very short in duration. So Narasimhadev comes for, I don't know, few minutes, kills Hiranyakashipu, blesses Prahlad, and gone. Similarly, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Vamana Avatar, these are all the Leela Avatars. Lord Ram is a Leela Avatar. And then we talked about the Shakti-Avesh Avatars. Shakti-Avesh Avatar means sometimes the Lord himself comes in his Shakti potency, concealed. Sometimes the Lord empowers his pure devotees to represent him. So within the Shakti-Avesh Avatars, the Lord himself comes as Shakti, particular manifestation. Indirectly, he also comes as through empowering his pure devotees like Narada Muni, Vyasadev, Parashuram. Kalki Avatar is also a Shakti-Avesh Avatar. Buddha is a Shakti-Avesh Avatar. These are all empowered representatives. Empowered representatives means they are not Lord Vishnu. The indirect Shakti-Avesh Avatars are not Lord Vishnu. They are representatives of the Lord. They are empowered for a specific purpose. Then, of course, we talked about the Manavantara. So Lord Brahma's daytime is divided into 14 segments. Each of those 14 periods of time has one Manu overseeing the maintenance of this earthly planet. So they are called the Manavant Avatars, Manvantara Avatars. And then you have the Yuga Avatars. In the Yuga Avatar, each Yuga the Lord takes a particular color. In the Satya Yuga, he comes in the color white. This is actually Kapila Muni, who comes as the son of Kardamu Muni and Devahuti. In the Treta Yuga, he comes in the color red. So it is said that in one of the Treta Yugas, Lord Ram actually takes the color red. And Lord Ram sometimes is represented in the color green. So sometimes he takes on that hue. But in one of the Treta Yugas, he comes in red. In Dwapara Yuga, he takes on a dark complexion and comes as Lord Krishna himself. And in Kali Yuga, he comes in the color yellow or golden. Who is saying this? Gargacharya, when he comes to Gokul, Nandagaon, to name, for the naming ceremony of Krishna and Balaram, when he looks at Lord Krishna, he makes this statement. He says, this little baby of yours, he's come in different colors before. He says, he's come in the color white in Treta Yuga. He's come in the color red. In Satya Yuga, he's come as white. In Treta Yuga, he's taken the color of red, and now he's taken the dark color. In the future, he will take on a yellow complexion. direction. So this is before he gives the name Krishna to Krishna. Gargacharya says this, that each yuga takes on a different color. The Yuga Avatars takes on a different color. So we'll get a little bit deeper into the 24 main avatars in the next class. We will stop here for today. So we'll continue with Shloka 8 and try and conclude it next week. Vancha kalpatarupya